welcome to Ridiculously Serious, a show where we draft teams from absolutely ridiculous categories and have a completely serious debate about them. My name is Mike, and I'm your host. As always, I am joined by my co-hosts Joe and Brandy, who we are going to find out just a little bit more about. How you doing, Joe?
Hey.
So, what I would like to know this week is what was your favorite school snack?
There can only be one answer to that question growing up in the Philadelphia suburbs, and that is soft pretzels. Everyone loved soft pretzel day. They were also available in the lunchroom every day. There were like various sales of them throughout the school year. Soft pretzels.
Sure, soft pretzels are solid. I will say I should have thought, with Philly area that does make sense.
Yeah.
But I thought you'd go more of like a childlike option. Meaning, pretzels are cool, but they're not like pretzels aren't fun. They're not exciting. They're not like Gushers or like Fruit by the Foot or like
Way better.
I don't know about that.
Have you ever seen a very young child holding an entire soft pretzel? Like they can't even get their hand all the way around one part of it, and it looks like it's 3 feet long in their hand. They're just like,
it does look pretty big.
For like half an hour before they swallow.
We got that one out of the way early. We are now up to 4 straight weeks of Joe doing a visual thing, and we just got knocked it right out of the park real early. First 2 minutes.
All right, who won last week?
All right, so soft pretzels. Oh, Brandy, we're going to go a different direction with you. If you could marry any one person from history, who would that be?
So I think most people know my distaste with marriage. In general, just for myself, not for other people. I believe it's a wonderful thing. I am not interested in it personally. So I thought hard about this, and I did research more so for this question than the rest of the podcast. And I thought really, really hard about it, and just completely like donked it and just went with Paul Rudd.
To be fair,
I gave up on everything and I went with Paul Rudd.
To be fair, that's like task failed successfully right there.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't go with the Archbishop Franz Ferdinand, but
it was
Paul
on the
Rudd's
list.
a good one,
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's like I said, that's like if you're saying you did a bunch of research and then gave up, I feel like you could have avoided that research and still had just a great answer because that's...
Yeah, well, I gave up on making it super deep because I was like, who would I be the most compatible with in all of history? Like, what would be best for me? And then I was like, I like Paul Rudd. He's a goof.
Yeah, Paul Rudd's awesome. Paul Rudd, yeah, Paul Rudd is notoriously one of the nicest celebrities and like just most genuinely good human beings. So yeah, definitely can't go wrong there. Yeah, no. He's great. He's awesome. I'm pretty sure, was he a Jersey guy? He grew up in Jersey, didn't he?
I think so.
I'm pretty sure he grew up in Jersey. I know he used to do bar mitzvahs. I know he was like a bar mitzvah host. Like that was like his first entertainment gig. I saw that on a talk show once.
Now suddenly wishing I had a bar mitzvah.
Yeah, I think that was back when he was like a teenager. Yes, it's true. It's never too late. But yeah, no, good guy, good answer. I like it. All right, so now what Joe and everyone else has been waiting for, last week's winner. If you missed it, we drafted the best mundane superpowers. So let's go ahead and find out who balanced their powers the best. I need to break the dry spell I'm on because it's been a rough few weeks for me. Because once again, Joe was the winner. Joe took it back to back. I feel like even with the cockiness of last episode, it was still probably deserved. I feel like that cockiness probably was deserved. I think Joe probably had one of the better weeks one of us has had last week. That was a very, very solid all-around draft. I will give him credit for.
I'm great at being boring.
Congratulations on your win, Joe. On the most boring episode yet.
Hey, the most mundane episode yet. Let's not go throwing the B word around.
It was actually fun. A
It
lot
was a
more
good
fun
time.
than I thought that was going to be with the mundane
No,
draft.
we definitely had some good ones. That was fun. So, all right. So Joe is the winner, the back-to-back winner. This week we are drafting New World Wonders. So, in our fictional podcast universe, people have decided that the 7 wonders of the world are now boring and outdated. So we're going to be replacing them, and we are going to be nominating candidates to replace them with. For the second week in a row, there are really no rules, and we're not going to veto each other's choices. It's pretty much, once again, going to be completely up to the voters. The wonders can be serious, they can be silly. It is dealer's choice, and then voters' decision. So we're going to do 4 rounds this week. We're going to slim it down just a tad this week. So let's go ahead and determine the draft order. So once again, Joe, you will get the first choice for the random number generator for the draft order, since you have won again. I actually have not won since I changed that system, so I haven't picked first yet for the random number generator. So I gotta get my mojo back.
I'm gonna go with the number 66.
66. All right, Brandy.
32.
66.
I've done that so many times.
32. Ooh, this is tough because I get the middle or I get the high or the low. Like, you really kind of knocked me to one segment here of the grouping. Let's go. I'll go old school. I'll go my old baseball number. Let's go number 10. That was my Little League baseball number, so I'll ride with that. Terrible choice. I will pick last. Joe,
Yes.
you will
All
get
right.
it. The number is 76. So Joe, Brandy, me as far as decision making.
I am so stoked to be getting the first choice because I'm picking the first pick because I think I have something that probably went through all of our minds, but I kind of did a more specific version of it. So I'm taking the first pick.
Okay.
Highly doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it too, just because of the direction I went. But I had a feeling you were going to choose that from what we were talking about in our kind of pre-pod discussion. I know you were excited for one of your picks specifically. So, all right, Brandy, would you like the second or the third pick of the draft?
I will go second for the simple fact that I always forget that I have to go twice in a row when I'm third, and it makes me very anxious.
There you go. You just knock it out of the way. You just stick to what you know. Stick to what you're good at, which is one pick at a time.
Yep.
All right, I will take third pick, which I'm fine with because, like I said, I went a different direction, so I don't think there's going to be any overlap with my list. Usually I put usually we have 5 rounds, but I put like 9 or 10 picks on my list just to be really safe. This week we're picking 4 and I have 5. So I'm very confident that I'm not going to have any overlap this week, but we will see. So Joe, very, very excited and anxious for the first pick. So go ahead and kick us off.
All right. So there's a place in this country known as the happiest place on earth. Now, I'm not picking Disney World itself.
I figured.
I'm picking something within Disney World. Because when you walk into Magic Kingdom and you're walking down that first road when you're in Magic Kingdom and you see that just absolutely terrible castle in front of you, you immediately go past that and go to the real main attraction of Magic Kingdom, Splash Mountain.
I like it.
Who doesn't love the Brer Rabbit and the story of the Brer Rabbit and the Tar Baby and what's that song, Zippity Doodah, playing in your ear, and I love it.
Never been. Also, we went very different directions with this draft.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, I figured that might happen because there were no real rules. You go any direction you wanted.
Just wait for my second pick.
I have to say, I'm actually a little surprised because if you would have asked me which one of the 3 of us would have went a serious direction with this, it would have been Joe. I would have guessed Joe would have gone for like actual wonders, in replacements.
I would have guessed me last.
Yeah, so I'm a little surprised Joe starting with. I mean, I like the pick. It's a solid pick. But I am a little surprised just because I didn't suspect that from Joe. I really thought he was going to go kind of the other direction.
Yeah, my picks are they're memorable. They're all extremely memorable places, and but they're memorable in a more of a comedic way, certainly than
Sure.
like necessarily a historical way. But
Sure.
Splash Mountain, come on!
Yeah, I mean that's like solid. Can't really argue with it.
Can't argue. Can't argue with it.
I detest Disney World, so it was never on my list. Disney World is so. We have this argument all the time in my house because my wife loves Disney World and wants to go. I detest Disney World. It's basically like my hell on earth. Like if you want to torture me, send me to Disney World. There's a billion people. You have to wait in line for hours at a time to ride 3 rides the whole day. The food is like $87 for a cheeseburger. Like it's all terrible. Like what part of that is good? Like sure, the rides are great, but you only get to go on a few a day. Like
You just go in January.
I mean, you think that's a good idea because it's January, but it's not January down there. Well, I mean, it is January down there, but it's not winter down there. Like it is winter down there, but it's not.
Are you okay?
Sorry, we're gonna end this podcast early today. Mike had an aneurysm.
I was comedically making the point that it is still warm in January at Disney World. So like there are still plenty of people there. Like I lived in Florida for a year and I think we actually did go to Disney World in like January or February and it's still crowded as shit. Like I said, I like the concept of Disney World. I like it in the abstract, which is fun rides and cool restaurants and stuff to do, good attractions. But I don't like people. If there's one thing, if there's one thing you could take away from this show, it's that I don't like people. I don't want to be around that many of them. So that's my problem with Disney World. But all right, Brandy, let's hear your first pick.
Yeah, so this is going to be a weird one because it's kind of more of a serious note. It was a suggestion I got from somebody that I found a little bit of humor in. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but they're like an ancient artifact that the Sumerian tablets.
Sure.
Yeah. But I find it funny because, they're like the oldest recorded whatever written language.
Yeah, like writings. Yeah, sure.
So it's like, interesting and this and that. But I find it funny that, one of these sold for like $230,000 and literally all they are receipts. Like the one that sold for that much money is a beer receipt. And that is all it is. And just the idea of that, something so simple becoming like something people go to see is just funny to me for some reason.
Sure. I like that. I definitely get what you're going for because before I decided on my theme, because I kind of toyed back and forth a lot, one of my thoughts was something like that where like you see sometimes the sign for like the world's biggest ball of yarn or like the world's largest pumpkin or something like that. So that was one of my potential avenues.
World's oldest beer receipt.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you advertise.
Ball of yarn was literally one of my backups, so
that's I mean,
I hope I don't have to get to that now.
I think you'll be okay, but that was one of the routes I thought about taking, was just like these super ridiculously boring things to make them like wonders of the world.
People traveling all over the world to see this beer receipt.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. That's a good direction that you're taking. So we'll see how you follow that up with the later ones. But I like that one.
Not great. Tell you that much.
Brandy's not confident this week. So I will have my first 2 picks then. So the direction that I finally decided on very late, actually, I usually kind of do a little bit of prep work throughout the week. And then like the day before or like early the day of our recording, we record on Sunday nights. So that makes, prep work a little bit easier because I have the weekend. But this week, I just couldn't really decide how I wanted to do that. Like I couldn't decide which direction I wanted to go. And it was unfortunate because I chose the topic and I thought it was going to be really fun.
Yeah.
And then I got to like prepping for it and I was like, oh, this is kind of tough.
Yeah, this was hard for me because I was like,
so, and then finally I had like a kind of a late stroke of genius right at the end of my prep, where I decided to kind of pull a Joe and do like specific categories. So I kind of put my 4 picks into 4 separate like boxes, because what I decided was,
okay,
for the wonders of the world, like if you think about the wonders of the world right now, like what are they? They're all like impressive feats of architecture, right? Like the 7 wonders of the world. It's all the same thing. Like, I'm not saying they're not impressive. They're obviously impressive, but like it's all the same category of thing. You know what I mean? But people find wonder and are amazed in all different aspects, of life, of all different kinds of things. I wanted to really kind of touch on different styles of amazement and wonder. So the first one, like I said, I doubt there's going to be any overlap, but if there is, it would only be with this one specifically, I think, which is why I'm going to take it first. And this fell into, I didn't start with specific topics. I made them after I kind of chose the different things. So this one I labeled as the Metal AF Wonder. Okay. So this is, and it'll make sense when you hear it, but this wonder is just like, you're like, damn, that's hardcore. So it is the Darvaza gas crater. So
what the
yeah,
what
so
that?
This is in Turkmenistan, which is in northern Asia, I believe. It is also known as the Doors to Hell. And that is because the Darvaza gas crater is a natural gas field. It collapsed, and that transformed it into like a natural gas crater. So there was all this methane gas that was just like kind of bubbling and like existing in that space. And geologists, a while ago, this was in the 70s, geologists were worried that it was going to spread, like the methane gas was going to spread and like cause issues in the environment and stuff.
Yeah.
So in 1971, they set it on fire in order to burn all the methane gas. But what they discovered was, I guess, I didn't like super research it, but I'm guessing because there is a constant flow of the gas, it hasn't actually stopped burning. So in the 50 years since they lit it on fire, it has literally burned the entire time. It's a continuous fireball of methane gas, like in the ground.
Which is crazy. Like I've heard of that. That was somewhere in my memory that you just pulled to the forefront, and I had no idea what that was. I thought it was something from a movie. Like it was in there somewhere, but didn't think it was real in there.
Yeah, it's super awesome. I was looking up like pictures and videos and stuff. It's crazy. It's literally just it's been burning for 50 years. Not like, oh, this thing catches fire once in a while. Like at Yellowstone where like the geysers go up every once in a while or whatever.
Yeah.
No, this thing has been on fire for 50 years, which is absurd and is super sick. Like I would
that
love
really
to
is
see
like,
it.
that is metal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's metal AF. Like
yes.
you don't get much more metal than that. So that was my metal wonder of like, people are like, wow, this is like insane. Like this is mind blowing. Like, so that checks off that category. The next one that I decided to go for, again, this is tough because I don't think there's going to be any overlap, but I really want the ones that I picked. So I have to do my best to make sure that you guys don't pick the ones that you might pick. So I am going to go with my beautiful wonder, I think, because again, I think that's probably the only one that will be overlapped, just if you guys did kind of the same research I did on Google and stuff. So I'm gonna go with my beautiful wonder, which is where people look at it and are just kind of awe-inspired and like just kind of taken aback and like, wow, that is just so beautiful. I'm so like moved, by this. And that is Lake Hillier. So Lake Hillier is a lake in Australia that is pink. That is just straight pink.
That is on my list.
Oh,
that is not even on my backup list.
Oh, I'm so glad I took that then because I was between two. So I'm glad I made that choice.
I have two beautiful ones, but I like one of them more than that one.
Okay.
So that one would have hurt me a little more.
Okay.
You can have the pink lake, Mike.
Fair enough.
You can have your Pepto-Bismol lake.
I mean, it's just so cool though because if you look at it, I mean, it's just literally just. It's not like that has a hint of pink. You know what I mean? It's not like when you look at the Caribbean Sea and you're like, that is like a bluish color, but it's really just water and you're seeing kind of the stuff beneath it and everything. This is pink. Like the water, it looks like pink soup. Like it's thick. It's not like a hint of pink. And so apparently,
wild.
Yeah. So like I said, I did a little bit of research on the ones that I chose, and it's a saline lake, which I'm sure you might have seen too because you had it on your list. But it's a saline lake, and scientists believe that was part of why I had on the list too, was because they're not even sure. Like they believe, which is that makes it a wonder. Like they're not even positive of why it's happening.
That's why I had it. Is because wonders are kind of the mystery behind it. Like, how did this thing become to be? And they still don't 100% know.
Yeah, exactly. So scientists believe that it's the high salinity, but that's combined or causes the presence of an algae that loves the salt and feeds on the salt, and that algae in that abundance turns it into the very, very, very pink color. So if you're, like I said, I've stressed it a few times, but if you want to Google it, you can't stress it enough. It is straight pink.
It is pink.
It's
well, I
just
also
pink.
read that it was something possibly that was secreted or something from the roots of the surrounding eucalyptus trees.
See, that I did not see. That's interesting because I didn't see that.
Yeah.
So to be fair, I looked at 2 sources, I think,
I read 3 sentences and I was like, wow. Yeah, so that could be entirely false. It could have been a different lake for all I know.
Sure. Yeah, I did the same thing I do when I want to know something, but it's not a very important subject,
Exactly.
I get the information and then I check a different source just to see if it kind of confirms that information. Obviously if it's something important or scientific, I'll check a lot more than that. But for something like why a lake is pink, I felt like 2 sources was probably valid enough. So that is my first 2 picks. So I went for, those are my more serious ones. The ones coming in later are probably gonna be a little bit more on the comedic side. Like I said, I'm gonna kind of divvy them up into categories. So Brandy, go ahead with your second pick.
So I think I'm going to go with my beautiful pick on this one, which I'm probably going to butcher the name. But it's the National Forest of Zhangjiajie in China. That's very hard for me to try to say. But it is, I believe, where they filmed James Cameron's Avatar, which it's these giant quartzite sandstone pillars that are hundreds and hundreds of feet tall with foliage all over them and on top and on the sides. And it is just, even seeing pictures of it alone rather, is just jaw dropping to me. So I feel like that would be a very beautiful one that should be a wonder of the world. Because I think it was created by some sea thing that happened, or lava, volcano activity, something going through there that made this. I don't understand it. I didn't do too much research into it. I don't know if they 100% know what caused it. I'm sure they do, but to me, it's amazing. It is a wonder to me.
Yeah, I think you were reasonably close on that. I could be wrong, but I believe it's Zhang, and that's the only thing I think it's Zhang.
Well, I watched a video of somebody and they said Zhangjiajie.
Oh, they would probably know better than me. So I
was like, all right, I'll go with that, because I said Zhang because it's ZHA, and I thought that's
sure.
But that's also me not knowing the language. So
sure. Yeah, I find giant trees to be super cool. Super, super huge trees are we were actually talking about this the other day because we were driving in upstate New York and we were going past a mountain, and I really enjoy feeling small. I don't know why. I like being next to really ginormous things because it makes me more of a universal thing. It makes me feel really small as part of the world and the universe, which I find cool.
Yeah.
So big giant trees definitely do that. I have not been able to make it to the redwood forest yet in California.
I want to go there so very badly.
I do.
Cool.
I do.
I've been there. Awesome.
Yeah, I want to go there very badly. My brother went with his fiance, but I also I want to get there. It seems like it would be a really just kind of like it's like a humbling type thing. You know what I mean? Like you think you're this awesome, cool human being, and then you just these giant trees, and it's just like, oh, I'm pretty small. Like I'm pretty insignificant in the grand scheme of things. So that's cool. That's definitely I think falls under the purview of beautiful. I would agree there. So very solid second pick. All right, Joe, you have your first wraparound for picks 2 and 3.
All right. So I've got some interesting ones. You're going to notice a theme, and the theme of mine is I did this in a very American-centric way because all of these are in America because America is a very American-centric thing, and I think if in today's age there was a Wonders of the World like renaming or whatever, I think that America would use its influence to obtain as many of them as possible. So you'll see the first one was the next two are going to be as well. This one is you kind of have to see it to believe it, because anytime it's described, and I've tried to explain this to people before, but it doesn't do it justice until you've driven into Wildwood and seen that Wawa that's right at the entrance to Wildwood.
God.
You know which one I'm talking about? The
Yeah, I
one?
know.
It looks like it's straight out of the Flintstones.
It looks like the Perpenturk.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know what Wawa is an East Coast convenience store that started in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, and I think there's some in New York. And then they also more recently, like the past 10 years, have opened up some convenience stores in Florida. Pretty much it's a glorified 7-Eleven with way better food. They now have gas stations. They've got some unique things such as like the Gobbler, which is a turkey sandwich with stuffing and cranberry sauce. And it is a very Philadelphia, New Jersey, popular thing in those areas. But they all look the same, except for one of them that is at the entrance to Wildwood, New Jersey, a popular beach destination, that the font and like the shape of everything looks like the Flintstones for some reason, and it's purple instead of being like the typical Wawa like orange, yellow, red kind of thing. So it is very unique, stands out anytime anyone from this area ends up in Wildwood. It's an eye catcher, and it's worthy of being a wonder of the world.
It's something. It looks like if teeny boppers were to choose a Wawa, that's what that would be.
Sure.
I think we've all eaten there. I know I've eaten there before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a good one. It's a very region specific, but it's a good one though.
It is region specific, but I feel like people that come visit the East Coast all take a pilgrimage to some Wawa at some point. And I know certainly any family that I have or friends that are from out of state, I'm like, yo, we got to go to Wawa. You got to do that while you're here. And that is the Wawa of all Wawas.
Brought my Canadian friends, and they were astounded.
Mm-hmm.
I should note we are not sponsored by Wawa. I should just throw that out there.
We're not sponsored by Wawa yet.
But Joe is providing an excellent pitch opportunity for me to get in touch with them. So a quick related side story, which is just because you had mentioned it's like a glorified 7-Eleven. In North Jersey, I don't really know in South Jersey, but in North Jersey, 7-Elevens are only convenience stores. They're not gas stations. So when I went to college in Tennessee, somebody was talking to me and they said something about getting gas at 7-Eleven. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And they were like, I was just filling up my car. I was like, what did you buy? Like a canister of gas at 7-Eleven? What were you doing? Like, why were you getting gas at 7-Eleven? Like, they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? And this went on for like a solid 30 seconds until they explained that 7-Eleven was actually a gas station in other parts of the country and not just a convenience store.
The
Like,
first time I saw a Sev with a gas station, I was very confused.
There's a few of them in my area.
yeah,
They're
I know I did.
primarily convenience stores,
Yeah, I saw when I was in Pennsylvania, I did see one that was also a gas station. But like as far as I was aware, 7-Eleven was like CVS and Rite Aid. Like it was like a convenience store. Like
Yeah, I think it started out as a convenience store. I think they tried to do what Wawa has done and changing them to gas stations, and I think they failed at it where Wawa has succeeded.
that would
Yeah.
make sense. All right, so that was our little bit of Northeastern gas station fact podcast. We will go now to Joe's third pick.
All right, so third pick. This is probably the most like egotistical American, one that I could possibly pick. But I have a little spin on it. So this wonder of the world would be the Declaration of Independence. The document that claimed America was a free country from England, its own country. It declared us a new nation, all that stuff. But wonders of the world and tourist attractions in general are going to have a plaque that or some sort of place where people can go read information about said object, place, yada yada. The plaque that I want at this wonder of the world is just going to be the raw script from National Treasure, the Nicolas Cage movie.
Yep.
And that is why it's going to be a wonder of the world, because Nicolas Cage at one point stole it, not because of anything else.
That's
Yes.
That's hilarious that you went that direction because I also have a movie one that's coming up later. That is it's a thing in real life, but it was in a movie, and that's why it's my wonder.
Sure.
So that'll be funny to compare those. But yeah, I was gonna say I had a feeling you might have been going that direction only because, like I said at the beginning, my last guess of who would have went serious with this was you, and then my definite last guess for who would have went like rah rah America with it. Well, actually, maybe that would have been me. Would have been the last person to do that. But the Declaration of Independence, when you said that, definitely was a surprise to me. So it makes sense that you kind of brought it back to a different kind of wonder as opposed to just the document itself, which would have surprised the hell out of me in all honesty.
Sure.
So, I mean, I feel like you can't really argue with the National Treasure. Like that is just a piece of cinematic brilliance.
Sure.
That defined a generation. So, I mean, I feel like when you're talking about movies that defined, a whole group of people, you have Citizen Kane, you have like Gone with the Wind, you have Ferris Bueller's Day Off, you have the 1999 cult classic The Mummy starring Brendan Fraser.
Knew that was coming.
And then you have the National Treasure. I mean, that's, you can point to those moments of time as basically when film peaked.
Sorry, you forgot the movie Face Off.
Oh, that is a phenomenal reference. Genuinely one of the most unintentionally hilarious movies of all time. Like hands down.
John Travolta and Nicolas Cage, right?
Yes, it is.
It is.
And they get to play each other.
It's one of those movies that, first of all, the fact that they're playing each other, though, it actually does make it like a really great piece of acting as far as movies go. Like the acting is actually like, obviously it's stupid, but like they're actors playing a character as a different actor. Like that's actually pretty impressive if you think about it. But it's
the opposite of being John Malkovich.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. It's one of those movies where, like, if they set out for it to be a comedy, it wouldn't have been funny.
Exactly.
But the fact that it's like an action, like thriller movie, it's hilarious, and that makes it great.
It's so good.
Such a good movie. But yeah, no, that's a solid pick. That I like those two. So, all right, Brandy, you have your third pick.
Yeah, I'm kind of struggling now that you took Lake Hillier from me. So I'm going to go in a different direction and say there was one time where I was living in North Carolina, and I would like this thing to be my wonder. It was something that I found personally, and it was a stick on the side of the road. And this stick had fallen out of a tree from what looked like, and it was about 4 feet long, and it had just stuck in the ground straight up and down. It was there for a year and a half through all weather, through all snow plows, everything. It never moved. And that stick is a wonder to me. And I feel like everybody in the world should witness this one stick.
That started weird and ended strong though.
I think it ended weirder.
Well, it did end
been
weirder.
more acceptable.
To be fair, it ended weirder, but the fact that it ended weirder, I think, made it end strong. Because that's kind of what we're going for.
That pick is either gonna lose Brandy the week or win Brandy the week. And I have no idea which is.
Yeah, there's no in between there.
There's no telling.
I would like to say though that I'm not sure what the measurement is where a stick ceases being a stick and becomes a branch.
Becomes a tree. Oh, branch.
But I feel like 4 feet is definitely past that. Like if I picked up a 4 foot long piece of tree, I wouldn't say, "Oh, this is a stick."
What if it's a real big tree?
And then it's just a small branch. I feel like.
Okay, on to the next pick.
All right.
I mean, Joe seems to have a real
you just
issue
blew my mind.
with this. I see him shaking his head. Do you disagree with my
have
measurement
strong
system?
Feelings on
so
stick v branch.
In my opinion, I think it's more girth that will determine if something is a stick or a branch, as opposed it's being weight bearing. Branches bear weight of the sticks coming off of them and the leaves and the everything like that. But the smaller something is, it's gonna not be considered a branch. And my dad had a rule of thumb when I was a kid, when I was climbing trees, that if my fingers touched when I put my hands around it, I was not allowed to use that branch to climb on. So I would say that, about that big.
Also, to be fair, it was about the size of a walking stick. And I believe that it's called a walking stick for a reason.
Boom, lawyered.
I don't even know where to go from that, because you wouldn't call it a walking branch for any reason.
Exactly, because it's not a branch.
But
it's not big enough.
But if a branch fell out of a tree while you were hiking and you started using it to walk, I feel like you would call that a walking branch. I
don't think so.
Also,
I think you're reaching just to make my pick look bad.
Also,
and I don't appreciate it.
I feel no. I was the one that defended. I said I liked it.
I'm just kidding.
But my issue here is that Joe just contradicted himself, because Joe just said if his fingers made it all the way around the branch, he couldn't climb it. But then so even though it was skinny, you still described it as a branch. You didn't say if my fingers fit all the way around, then that was a stick and I couldn't climb it.
Well, it's not a branch. If my fingers touch, then it's a stick.
But you didn't say stick. You said branch. You said if it was a branch that my fingers could fit around.
Now you've been lawyered.
Play back the tape. All right, let me get our stenographer. I think this is the second time we've referenced the stenographer on this on this podcast.
I don't remember another time.
So we're gonna have to review the tapes. We're gonna have to throw the challenge flag. But all right, so
anyway, the stick.
So the stick. All right. I will wrap up my draft with picks 3 and 4. So I have my Metal AF Wonder. I have my Beautiful Wonder. Next, I will do my Comedic Wonder, which I know I talked about from a movie, but that is actually not my Comedic Wonder. The movie is a different category. So my Comedic Wonder are the Argania trees of Morocco. So the tree itself is not anything spectacular. It's a pretty normal looking tree. However, this tree produces a fruit. It's a very specific fruit, and that fruit attracts a population of hungry goats. And these goats climb up the tree in order to get the fruit. So if you see pictures online of this tree, there are goats like tens of feet up in the tree, like 30 feet up on a branch. Just eating fruit, standing in this tree, which is phenomenal. Which is, just picture a goat 30 feet up in a tree. That's amazing. Exactly, you can't. That's why it's a wonder. That's why it's incredible.
Yeah, it's.
If you stopped, that would blow your mind. Like if you were walking past and you stopped and you saw that, would blow your mind. But who the hell put you'd be like, what kind of sociopath put a goat in a tree? to just stay there and die of starvation, and then you see like dozens of goats just chomping away with smiles on their face as they eat this delicious like succulent fruit. Plus, goats are adorable in their own rights. I don't know if that's just me. I find goats to be adorable.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, they really are. I think we had this conversation when goat yoga was brought up.
Sure.
One time for some reason.
They smell terrible, though. I don't know if you guys have actually been around goats. They're one of the worst smelling animals.
The cutest ones smell terrible, though. Like ferrets. Love ferrets. They stink.
That I would not know. I don't think I've ever been around ferrets.
I think ferrets are cute, I should say. I hate ferrets. I think they're very cute, and they smell terrible.
So if you think, if you think they're cute, why do you hate them so much?
Because they're demons.
Oh, so it's an attitude thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you spent a lot of time around ferrets, apparently.
Yeah, I had 2 of them.
I think there's opportunity to say that I am afraid of possums, but
you're afraid of possums?
That's all I'm going to say about that.
They're like one of my favorite animals.
You didn't have a possum run into your leg when you were a child in your own backyard.
Did it injure you?
No, it scared the crap out of me.
I'm going to take this opportunity to say opossum.
No.
Yes, opossum.
Yeah, opossum. I have learned, though, that you can... It is actually scientifically correct to say it both ways, like possum and opossum. I guess that was one of those things where so many people just called it possum that they kind of just changed it.
They were like,
because of language. Yeah, I think that's literally like what it was. But yeah, so goats and trees. So the Argania tree in Morocco, which is just another place I would actually love to visit. I've heard really good things about Morocco. I would like to go there and see some goats and some trees and check all that good stuff out. So now, I feel like every week there's one moment or one segment of the podcast where I just take it completely off the rails. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it really would not do justice to the podcast to not have that moment. So we're going to have that moment. So now, with my last pick, I will be taking my what the fuck wonder. So what that is, it's not a wonder that in of itself makes you think that. It's more of like the entire concept. You just can't, no matter how hard you wrap your mind around it, you just can't. That's it. And so that wonder is the street fountain from the classic 90s movie Blank Check. So if you haven't seen it, Blank Check is the amazing story of I don't even remember his age, but he's gonna be like 9 or 10 years old, like a 9 or 10-year-old kid that gets $1 million, right? He writes like a fake check because he's good with computers, and then he goes to the bank, and the guy thinks another guy's coming to pick up money as part of this like criminal thing, and he's like a real dumb guy, so he just gives it to this kid, right? So this kid gets $1 million, and then he goes on a shopping spree that was inflationed right the hell out of present day America. I mean, first of all, he buys a house that nowadays would probably be worth $15 million, and I'm pretty sure he buys it for like $200,000 or something. So the whole premise of the movie is hilarious nowadays. But anyway, so more to the actual point.
Comedy, right?
Yeah, so it is. It's like a kid's comedy. So the reason that the street fountain is my what the fuck wonder is specifically because of one scene in the movie where the coolness and the awesomeness of the street fountain allows us to forget that a 30-year-old woman is on a very romantic and weirdly sexual date with a 9 or 10-year-old kid. Yeah, so I don't know. This was one of my favorite movies as a kid, so I've probably seen it literally like 20 times. So you guys might not be as familiar with it as I am. But
never seen it.
That's actually a tragedy. Like, you should actually see it. It's a great kids movie. So there's this beautiful woman who's like, I think she's like an assistant for somebody or something. Like, he comes across her while he's spending all this money, and they start hanging out, which, of course isn't weird at all. And he gets her to go out on a date with him. And you're like, okay, this is like a silly kids movie thing. But then this date gets like weirdly sexual. And if I remember correctly, like I said, I've seen it like 20 times, but I haven't seen it in probably 15 years. I think she kisses him at one point, but like on the lips. Not like a cute, like, oh, we had a silly date, like on the forehead or on the cheek. I'm pretty sure it was on the lips. Like, it was in a way where it definitely wouldn't get approved nowadays. But yeah, so this street fountain is like all the jets are like shooting up from the street and doing different patterns, and they're like running around having a really cool time. She gets all wet, obviously, which again is adding to like the sexualness of the situation.
Weird.
But the fountain itself is so cool and the scene is so iconic that you forget how fucking weird it is. And I feel like that fits perfectly into a natural wonder of the world. Is like it just completely encapsulates you, and the world around you ceases to exist outside of this fountain. It's just a magical fountain that gets rid of all creepy adult child relations. So
okay.
Wasn't there also what was it, Tom Hanks movie with a similar like vibe?
Are you thinking of Big?
Was it Big?
Big is the one where he becomes a kid. He goes back through the Zoltar machine. Or no, opposite direction. He gets all grown up from the Zoltar machine. But I think there was something weird like that in there when he goes back to being a kid.
Kind of like opposite concept where didn't they kiss while he was an adult, but he's still like a 10-year-old in an adult's body?
Yeah, it was something like that.
You know, it's still weird.
It's definitely weird.
Probably weirder the other way around, but still.
I would say it's definitely still weird. Way less weird for the woman because she doesn't know he's a kid. Like it's weird from the movie, but it's not weird for the woman because she's just seen an adult man. In Blank Check, it's very weird from the woman because she can clearly see he's like a 9-year-old kid, you know?
Yeah, I don't
so
like
that woman's got to be
in
that universe. That woman's got to be on a list at this point. I could only assume that, you know, in the Blank Check universe, I'm saying kind of like the Marvel universe, but this universe is filled with this, you know, pedophile woman. So
well,
I hate that.
Mike, I think just lost all his votes for this week. So I think it's between me and you again, Brandon.
Yeah, maybe
that's
I
what
finally
you
have
think.
a chance at this week.
That's what you think, but I think voters are really going to appreciate the absolutely absurd throwback, you know, to early days of the podcast direction that I took my team in. So I don't feel the need to say anything more. Blank Check, Street Fountain, weird, creepy relationship thing. That's my pick. Go ahead, Brandy.
All right. So to palate cleanse from that there, another thing that was just like a big wonder, like beautiful, crazy thing, not particularly funny, but something that I would very much love to see as a wonder of the world is the Hitachi Seaside Park in Japan. So it is it's a field with like millions of flowers, and it's, let me see, I wrote it down, 469 nice 0.5 acres of just flowers.
It's a lot of flowers.
And apparently no matter what time of year you go, there's always something in bloom. And it's just, that's a lot of acres to just like have all of these flowers that you could just run through.
It's a lot of acreage. You're not wrong.
It's a lot of acreage. A lot of acreage. And I like it. And that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, flowers are cool.
Flowers are great.
Flowers are dope. We have some lavender
you ever
farms.
To a flower show?
No, I've never been to a flower show.
The flower show in Philly is cool.
The Philly one's insane.
Right? I definitely recommend if they ever do it again, if you're ever in the area.
There's a lavender farm out here on the island that they have like little lawn chair and like picnic table type deals set up like in the lavender field. So, and they actually like, you pay like $8 or whatever, but you can, you know, bring like a packed lunch and you just go sit in the lavender field, which I haven't done yet. But my wife wants to do, and we just haven't gotten around to it yet. But that seems, yeah, it's the big chairs, like you see, like where you take like a silly picture, you take in the big chair, you know.
Oh my god, that was sold.
Yeah,
Brandy knows I love big chairs. One time we were at what was it?
Swarthmore Arboretum.
Arboretum, yeah.
Yeah, they got a big old chair.
As soon as I saw the big chair, I was like, we gotta go. We gotta go take pictures right now.
I
had Rob Lavin do a photo shoot of me in the big chair.
Yeah, I've been to some big chairs actually. We did a ski trip that had a big chair. We took some pictures.
Don't they have one down the shore?
I'm sure they have them all over the place. We did our apple picking place. Our favorite apple picking orchard has a big chair. We take pictures, and we now that you say it like that, where like a big chair is like a thing, I realize how many big chairs I've encountered in my life. Like,
well, I'm literally changing my last pick to a big chair.
A big chair. All right. Well, speaking of which, go ahead and share with us your last pick.
This is really hard because I had a couple of them. But I'm going to go with something that has left an unprecedented mark on Americans and the American family dynamic, and just iconic. And if you showed this to the vast majority of people alive today, especially adults, let's say the vast majority of adults alive today, they would be able to say undoubtedly what that is within seconds. And that is the house, the outside shot of the house from Full House.
Full House.
Solid.
Right on that slanted road, San Francisco, right? There were Golden
Yeah.
Gate Bridge.
San Francisco.
Danny
Danny Tanner, wake up San Francisco.
Oh, right. That outside shot, you could show that to just about any adult, and they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, Full House." And even kids nowadays, some of them, the kids that I used to nanny, who are like, I don't know, 13 now or something, they were real into Fuller House.
Never watched it.
They have bad taste.
Yeah.
Fuller House is not
Sounds
good.
terrible. I
that-
hate that.
That house is
And I hate everyone who watches it. I'm just kidding. It's a false statement.
a world wonder.
I dig it. I almost went the fictional route before I decided on like my one of each category thing. I almost went like the not the fictional as in it doesn't exist. I'm saying like from fictional worlds, like from
Full House is a documentary.
Also, significant runner-up that you probably could have went with, which would have been a banger, the Jersey Shore House. Wonder. That is a wonder if I've ever seen
the
one.
only wonder about that is how people actually made it out of there after being in there.
Is how people actually lived in there is the wonder.
I wouldn't know. I think I'm one of the only people from New Jersey who literally has never seen a single second of that show.
Yeah,
So
watched it.
It was
no interest.
Terrible. It was a terrible period of my life that I had to go through because everybody in my area of South Jersey wanted to be that for some reason.
Yeah.
Not good. Not a good time.
Yeah. Not file that one under not ideal.
I'd be lying if I said I didn't do a bump with my hair at one point.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Trying to fit in, I know.
Yeah.
Not proud of it, but it happened. And now if anybody ever finds photo evidence, it's already out there in the world. No blackmail on me.
So now that we're wrapped up, I have a question because I didn't pick this because I went with Full House because I didn't think this would have. I thought this would have not counted because there's not one of this thing. They're all over the country. But I was thinking Guy Fieri's Flavortown Kitchen.
I think I would have given it to you if you picked like the first one, like if you found like his first establishment. Yeah, like which one he opened first. I think I would have given that. But yeah, Guy Fieri. Also, speaking of which, because I said this before about Paul Rudd, by all accounts, Guy Fieri, awesome human being.
I've heard the same.
I've only ever heard like fantastic things about him as a person.
Yeah.
Which really the frosted tips in the 2020s really throws you off.
Yeah, that's a bold move.
I think he's just like everyone's like fun drunk uncle.
I was just gonna say drunkle.
Yeah,
sure.
But yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, I feel like that's one of those things where it's like a strong move, but like, if you're just a super awesome, super nice human being, you can get away with that. Like, that's just your thing then. Like, you just have this silly thing you do. But like, yeah, but I've heard stories of he's donated like a ton of money to like, inner city chefs and like, rundown restaurants that weren't run down because of, bad management. I think just if something happened, maybe there was like a hurricane or like, something like that. Like he's just done all kinds of good things from stuff I've heard. So Guy Fieri, good dude.
Yeah, sponsor our podcast.
Along
with Wawa.
So two different food qualities, we'll say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the only one, like I said, I only had 5 on my list. I didn't get any stolen because I jumped on Lake Hillier before Brandy. The only other one I had was kind of in the beautiful, like awe-inspiring wonder category because, like I said, that was the only one that I thought might have gotten stolen, which, funny enough, I was right, was the Great Blue Hole in Belize, if you guys have ever seen that. There is, in the ocean off of Belize, there is a perfectly round blue, like, just circle in the ocean. Yeah, literally, like, you see like the light blue kind of Caribbean Sea type water, and then there is just a perfectly round circle that is just a dark blue. And it was created by a sinkhole off the coast of Belize. It was like an open air limestone cave, and then it became like a sinkhole when the glaciers melted and the water levels rose or whatever. So it's like bonkers. It's really cool. Check it out. It's really awesome.
I will.
Yeah. So people like dive in it and stuff, which is terrifying.
No.
Yeah, I'm not about that. Like, I actually want to get scuba certified this year, but I'm not trying to go into like some crazy like trenches and holes and stuff. I just want to splash around in like 5-foot water with some sharks or something. That's my cup of tea. Not crazy deep like trenches and stuff. But
I don't want to get stuck somewhere. I have a fear of getting stuck. If I can't see the surface, I'm out.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I have a severe phobia. It's not even like claustrophobia. It's like actually getting stuck. So like, if I was the guy in 127 hours, that movie would have been called Half an Hour, because I probably would have tried to get my arm out for about a half hour and then just killed myself. Yep. I had no interest in being stuck down there. Like, that's like literally my worst nightmare.
That movie is so insane.
That movie's nuts.
He drinks so much pee.
That movie was actually, the only reason that was on my mind is because I actually considered one of the things in that movie for a world wonder, which was the cave that him and Kate Mara and the other girl, that James Franco and Kate Mara and the other girl dive into in the beginning of the movie. It's actually in Utah. It's like a 55-foot high, like it's a cave, but it's got, you know, the water at the bottom that they dive into, and then it just kind of looks like a big fishbowl, like, because it's got like where the lid would be on a fishbowl at top, it's open, and that's what they jump into. Just go back and watch. It's a fucking cave. I don't know how to describe it, but it looks cool as shit. So
yeah, I mean, it sounds cool.
So that was why that movie was on my mind. But yeah, so that is our draft for this week, and, you know, some other weird stuff on top of it and some tangents and stuff. But hey, that's why you're listening to a podcast. At least I would hope. It gets those weird tangents mixed in, some entertainment. So I'm going to try something a little different. If you're enjoying the podcast, we still would love that 5-star rating. But what I'll do is, instead of leaving us a review, because what you say doesn't really matter, it's the 5 stars that count. Tell me what your wonder would be. Give me your nomination. Leave us 5 stars. Tell me what your wonders, would be, and I'll shout them out on the show. If we get some, I'll shout them out and let people know what our listeners thought about the new wonders of the world. So do that if you get a chance. Take you 30 seconds to do. If you think that you have a good idea for a draft category, send me an email, ridiculouslyseriouspodcast@gmail.com. Other than that, you guys know what to do. Thank you for listening today. I hope you guys have a great week, and we will see you next week.